The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. It's kind of a depressing mail, and it'll have a depressing answer. So we should think about something to kind of warm us up here. We'll get everybody in kind of a depressed mood. Have you ever, by the way, like for example, have you ever flown into a city, and especially if it's a city like Orlando or Dallas or Houston in the summer, where it's really hot and humid, but your plane has been super freaking late. So let's say you left, I don't know, LA or San Francisco at say like, I don't know, 1 p.m., right? So you kind of screwed up your whole day. You kind of, you're doing okay because you're like, wow, at least I don't have to wake up at the crack of dawn to get to the effing airport. And you get to the airport and you're tired, but, you still were able to sleep in a little bit. So it's not too bad. And, you're trying to figure out kind of, you get to the airport too early because you misjudged how many people are going to be on the road. So you get there, and then you get into the airport, and your plane decides it's not going to take off at 1 o'clock, and it says it's going to take off like at 7:30 at night. And now you're going to like from, LA to Orlando, which means you're going to be landing at like 2 in the morning, and it sucks. And so it's like 2 in the morning, and now you're like wandering around to get your rental car, and nobody working at the airport gives a shit about any of that. So you're like, but finally you get the rental car, and it took forever, even though there's zero crowd because nobody's working. So everything's just moving super, super slow. And then you get your rental car, and like you're driving, now you're hungry. So you're really eating nothing. You thought maybe I'll eat that, I'll eat something on the plane, but it was garbage. So anyway, now you're hungry, and you discover that all the fast food restaurants are also kind of closed. And so you're looking around like, what is open? I just need some food. I got a meeting at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. It's already East Coast time, and I'm used to West Coast time, so I'm just all pissed off, but I need some food if I'm going to go to bed. And like you see the one glowing light down the distance from the road, and it's a Waffle House. And now you're in the Waffle House at 2 in the morning in Orlando, and it is a absolute sewer of insane people. And you're just like, I'll have a waffle and some bacon. It's like 2 in the morning, you eat waffle and bacon with a bunch of meth addicts, and you're going to your hotel. Anyway, that's depressing. All right, so now let's get to this email. It says, Perch, with the new Flash Omnibus coming out, what kind of royalties can William Messner Loebs expect from sales of the book? He has a GoFundMe, but it would be nice if DC could step up and pay him something substantial for the work they are going to profit off of. All right. So will, Bill Loebs get a paycheck from the Flash Omnibus? Yes, if. So there's a bunch of yes, if. So first of all, will he get a check? Sure. Will it be a very big check? Probably not. Will DC, quote, forget to send him a check? And Bill has to somebody has to let him know, hey, there's an omnibus out that you have some stories in. You probably need to inquire about getting a check. And then will he have to go through the equivalent, trying to cancel your gym membership at LA Fitness over the course of like 5 years in order to get his check for, like $220? Yeah, probably. I'm just kidding. He'd probably make a little bit more than that, but it won't be. Look, it's not going to help. It's not going to help too much. But he probably has deserved some money. This is one of those topics where I've mentioned it before, and this is one of those areas where creators have one story, and then people who work in the comic publishers have a radically different story. And I think my suggestion would be, hey, if you're a editor-in-chief or a senior editor, or you work in the management at a publisher, stop writing old Perch and telling him that, no, absolutely, you never screw your creators. That's just a bunch of bullshit. And instead, maybe reach out to some of these creators who absolutely believe you did, who are struggling to get paid, and are even starting to post stuff on their Facebook saying, can somebody help me hunt down my money? It's been like 3 years and nobody sent me a check, and the editors keep changing, and like this one editor just doesn't even respond anymore. I think she's planning a wedding, or I don't know what's going on. Like, can somebody help me just get paid with the thing from the contract that I signed where I'm owed money? I would really like it. look, maybe it's possible that each and every one of those creators are lying and you actually pay everybody 100% on time. And it's just that there's a ton of people out there who are completely full of shit. It's possible. It's possible. I think there's a 0% chance that's true, but it's possible that it's, everybody else is lying and you've been doing it right the whole time. But I think it's far more likely that, because of the poor organization and just general structure of a lot of these companies, it is likely that people have been forgotten and that maybe people who were owed a check didn't get a check. And maybe people who are owed a check are sitting in the Waffle House at 2 a.m. eating some shitty food because they would like a nice check so they could go get a steak. I don't know. I'm extrapolating various things. But look, I mean, to be serious for a moment, why would any of us expect that companies that often struggle with putting out solicitation text on time and, we'll do kind of random placement, cancellation, changes of comics, why would we expect that, the publisher who does that would simultaneously, be really good about paying their royalties? Chances are they wouldn't. And so that's kind of the problem that we have here with a lot of this stuff is like, look, if the royalties don't get paid on time, now, to be fair to the publishers, generally, if creators got to stay on it, know the right people to talk to and, sometimes harass a little bit in a nice way, they will get paid eventually. And sometimes if you have a really good, continual ongoing dialogue with your editor, you'll get paid regularly and on time. And, there are several creators I've talked to who are like, I've never had this problem. I'm always paid royalties. I'm paid my stuff, no problem. I'm like, well, what's your relationship like with the editors? It's like, oh, I get along great with the editors. I chat with them every now and then. I'm constantly going back and forth and, we talk about work and we've talked about some personal stuff, but, I have a regular ongoing live interaction with, the people who are the editors of, the comics I work for. It's like, hey, you think those two might be related? Where because you have a good ongoing dialogue with people responsible for paying you, they don't forget it when it's time to pay you. It's like, oh yeah, you might have a point there. Whereas other people will struggle. Now, I would hope that DC is taking care of Bill Loebs. He definitely deserves to be taken care of. He wrote by far my favorite Flash story of all time, and he's reading great comics with Wonder Woman and with, Bill Loebs is a great talent. And he is somebody that it's hard, like really hard, to see him, in his current condition for somebody who brought such amazing memories to comics. So, not that I advocate that, the GoFundMes and everything else, look, you definitely have to pay into those if you agree with a person or you feel good about it. Never let somebody guilt you into charity. That kind of defies the entire purpose. But from my perspective, it's a pretty major difference between, somebody like a Bill Loebs who has a GoFundMe up because they have serious, legitimate health problems, and it is, there's critical need of care, and somebody who's like, hey, I accidentally fell down the stairs because I was high, and I broke my laptop. Will you please buy me a new laptop? Like, I think those are two very different GoFundMes. Or, one hand, it's like, hey, I've got this acute form of cancer and I've exhausted the medical insurance I paid for and I need some help to survive, versus, hey, I would like a new guitar. Can I do a GoFundMe so you can buy me a new guitar? Like, I think those are kind of two very different cases, but, your mileage may vary. Maybe buying a comic artist guitar is what you've always dreamed of in life, and that's your deal. But personally, I would say that, get the word out for Bill Loebs. He does need some money. He's not doing well. And, from a health perspective, we probably do want to help out some of these creators who are, created some amazing stories and art and other things for us. And I mean, my goodness, why, if they're sick and there's a way to help those people, absolutely. I'll help those people all day long, and not sick because they did something really ridiculously stupid. But be that as it may. Anyway, I hope Bill Loebs gets his royalties. I hope somebody at DC is making sure they're watching that. He gets a check. He certainly could use one right about now. And hell, the next time DC, if you're doing an omnibus or an anthology, not an omnibus, you're doing some kind of comic where you got a bunch of short stories and everything else, consider giving a check to somebody like a Bill Loebs, who would happily take a pretty low page rate, to be honest, and write you probably a pretty damn good story. And yeah, he may not be in the best of care right now, so you may need to plan ahead a little bit, give him a little bit extra time in order to get the story in. But wouldn't that be worth it to help somebody else in comics? Like, I might need to give that guy an extra 2 weeks to get the script in. Like, wouldn't that be a good trade? I think it would be. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Please don't forget about Bill Loebs and all the other great comic artists out there who are legitimately can use our help. And thanks for listening.